Kael leads to hunters across the sunlit prairie at dawn. The hunters move cautiously, their eyes scanning the horizon. Kael kneels to examine a large, fresh deer track in the damp earth. He raises his hand, signaling for the group to stop and be silent. The hunters hide behind tall grass, peering into the distance. A large herd of deer grazes peacefully in the distance. Kael gives hand signals, directing the hunters to spread out. A hunter moves skillfully through the low brush, his spear held ready. Kael leads the way, crawling low to the ground, perfectly concealed. Another hunter places each step carefully, avoiding making any sound. The hunters slowly form a wide arc, beginning to encircle the herd. Kael rises slightly, his intense gaze fixed on the lead stag. A younger hunter tenses his muscles, preparing to throw his spear. Kael signals him to stop, telling him to wait for the right moment.
Shoosh!
Suddenly, the entire herd lifts its heads, sensing danger in the air. Kael frowns, realizing the deer have been alerted, and scans the area. He whips his head around, his sharp eyes focused on a dense thicket. A lone dire wolf bursts from the brush, snarling and blocking their path. Startled, Kael quickly shifts from a hunting stance to a defensive one. The hunters are separated, each one facing the sudden, unexpected threat. The direwolf lets out a loud howl that echoes across the prairie. Kael's face tenses. He knows the howl is a signal to its pack.
Hiss!
From different directions, more massive direwolves begin to appear. One wolf, with silver-grey fur, bares its fearsome, glowing teeth. The small group of hunters is now completely surrounded by the wolf pack. A hunter swallows nervously, gripping his spear with a look of fear. The wolves, each as large as a small horse, slowly tighten the circle. Kael scans the pack, assessing the situation and searching for an escape. A close-up reveals the sharp, blood-stained fangs of a dire wolf. The pack begins to advance, slowly but deliberately, applying pressure. Kael signals for the hunters to group up, back to back, in a tight circle.
Fall back.
The hunters form a defensive cluster,
Watch out.
their spears pointing outwards like spines. Kael quickly scans the terrain and spots a large cluster of rocks nearby. He signals for the group to retreat slowly towards the rocks. The hunters carefully back away, fending off the wolves as they move. A hunter throws a small stone at the nearest wolf, forcing it to dodge. The wolf growls angrily and quickly closes the distance again. The dire wolf pack follows closely, giving the hunters no room to escape. Kael signals for a vulnerable hunter to move to the center of the group. That hunter quickly repositions, narrowly avoiding a lunging wolf. The hunters finally reach the rocks and quickly take defensive positions. Kael stands guard in a gap between the boulders, his spear ready. An even larger wolf, the alpha, slowly approaches with an assessing stare. The alpha wolf and Kael face off in a silent battle of wills. Kael doesn't blink, his eyes filled with defiant challenge. The alpha begins to circle the rock formation, searching for a weak point. The rest of the pack spreads out, surrounding the rocks with low growls. A young hunter trembles slightly, clutching his spear tightly. Kael gives the young hunter a brief, reassuring but firm look. The prairie is tense, filled only with the sound of wind and growls. The alpha lunges in a feint attack, and Kael quickly steps back. Kael takes a deep breath, bracing himself for the imminent assault. The entire dire wolf pack attacks at once in a chaotic frenzy. Kael uses his spear to block a lunging wolf, the impact forcing him back. Another hunter smacks a wolf with a club, making it whimper and retreat. The battle rages, with dust flying and snarls echoing around them. A wolf attacks from the side, trying to bite a hunter's leg. The hunter leaps away, dodging the deadly bite, breathing heavily. Outnumbered, the hunter's defensive formation begins to falter. Kael moves constantly, his spear and fists fighting back desperately. A young hunter is tackled by a wolf and cries out in pain. Seeing this, Kael rushes towards him with incredible speed. Kael uses his body to shield the hunter, shoving the wolf away. He struggles fiercely with the dire wolf, using all his strength. Kael's teeth are clenched, his face contorted with strain and fury. The alpha wolf attacks Kael from behind, aiming for his neck. Kael spins instantly, his spear swinging up to block the alpha's attack. The hunters fight bravely, but exhaustion is showing on their faces. One hunter gasps for breath, his spear partially broken. The dire wolf pack attacks relentlessly, trying to break their line. Kael glances around, realizing their dire situation and needing an escape. He spots a narrow, steep crevice hidden between the rock faces. Kael makes a quick hand signal, pointing to the crevice for an immediate retreat. The hunters change tactics, fighting as they back away towards the escape route.
Retreat!
A hunter is bitten on the leg, but still manages to limp away. Kael turns back to cover the injured hunter, sweeping his spear at a wolf. The dire wolf pack pursues them closely, snarling, refusing to give up. Kael stays at the rear, his spear a constant barrier against the pack. An angry wolf snaps and claws at the air as Kael backs away. One by one, the hunters squeeze into the narrow crevice. Kael's broad shoulders block the crevice, creating a choke point. The wolf pack piles up at the entrance, unable to enter all at once. Kael uses his spear to keep the wolves at bay, preventing them from entering. The wolves outside snarl and claw at the rock walls in frustration. Inside the crevice, the hunters struggle up the steep, rocky incline. Kael glances back, his eyes still fixed watchfully on the entrance. The dire wolf pack remains outside, their pursuit now effectively halted. The hunters continue their climb, sweating but determined to escape. Kael pauses for a second, leaning against the rock wall before climbing on. The alpha wolf looks up with frustrated eyes, then turns away. Kael is the last one out, pulling himself onto a high rock ledge. The hunters regroup on the ledge, exhausted but finally safe. One hunter collapses, gasping for breath as he looks down at the wolves. The dire wolf pack stands below, growling in anger and helplessness. Kael looks down at the pack, his expression one of relief and exhaustion. The alpha lets out one final howl before turning to leave. The rest of the dire wolf pack disperses into the prairie. Kael turns to his men with a tired smile on his face. A hunter claps Kael's shoulder in a silent gesture of gratitude and respect. The hunters share looks of relief, bonded as survivors. Kael scans the vast prairie, a calm silence falling after the chaos. He closes his eyes for a moment, replaying the hard-won lesson of the fight. Kael opens his eyes, his face a mixture of fatigue, resilience, and humility. The setting sun paints the sky red over the harsh, beautiful landscape. Kael signals for the group to prepare for the journey back to camp. The hunters carefully make their way down the rocky slope. Their long shadows stretch across the ground as they walk through the prairie. Kael leads the way, constantly scanning their surroundings for any new threats. The hunters communicate with silent gestures, now more coordinated than ever. The small group appears as tiny figures, resiliently returning home. Kael pauses, looking toward the horizon with a thoughtful expression. He looks back at his group with a new understanding of survival. The sky turns a deep violet as the first stars begin to appear. Kael recognizes a familiar rock formation, realizing they are close to home. The group picks up their pace, tired but hopeful for shelter. Kael leads on, his tired steps still steady and sure. The hunters exchange looks of deep, unspoken understanding. They enter the familiar, safer territory near their camp. Kael lets out a final long breath, his shoulders relaxing. The hunters head towards the faint, welcoming lights of the campfires. Kael glances back at the dark prairie with a grim smile, then walks on.